We'd like to start today. We are going to start with Mr. Salters and our comprehensive annual financial report. So I'm going to turn it over to him, and we have a number of things we need to get done today, and so we'll get started.
Thank you, Dr. Little, members of the board. Of course, we selfishly think this is the most important thing that needs to get done on the agenda today, but we'll be as brief as we can and certainly want to entertain your questions. This is a very important component of our work in our finance department. And so we have Matthew Hodges here with us this evening with Burkett CPAs. They are the independent auditing firm that conducted our audit this year. And Matthew's prepared to give you a summary of the findings from that audit. So I'll turn it over to Matthew.
Well, good evening, members of the board. Thank you very much for your time. Again, going to present our audit for this evening, and I think I need So just a brief introduction to our team. Our audit partner is Larry Montague. And again, my name is Matthew Hodges. I'm the audit manager from our firm. Certainly appreciate all the cooperation we received from your finance team listed there on the screen, as well as really all the employees of the district, because I know it's a team effort in performing the audit. Again, the draft, the CAFR, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, is in a draft status currently. We are awaiting guidance from the Office of Management and Budget in order to complete the compliance portion of our audit. That is anticipated to be released sometime this month. But as of this point in time, we're not aware of any changes that will need to be made to the CAFR. So in our audit, there were no significant changes in accounting policies. There were no disagreements with management. No consultations occurred with any other independent accountants as part of the audit. There are no issues discussed prior to our retention as your independent auditors. And again, we did not encounter any difficulties in performing our audit. And once again, we received full cooperation from your personnel. We did test transactions for the district based upon our knowledge of the district and its activities. We used our professional judgment in selecting sample sizes for testing. Those sample sizes were designed for reasonable, but not absolute assurance. And that being said, we did not note any instances of non-compliance with district policies. We do anticipate issuing 3 clean opinions related to the financial statements. First, an unmodified opinion in regards to the financial statements themselves. Secondly, there are no deficiencies in internal controls over financial reporting. And lastly, we again anticipate an unmodified or clean opinion related to compliance, and we will be able to finalize that once we've gotten that addendum. So the district does continue to be in excellent financial position. Again, the AA bond rating from Standard & Poor's, as well as the AA1 from Moody's. You have assigned a portion of your fund balance in the general fund related to your fiscal year 21 budget appropriations, and you have received the certificates of excellence in financial reporting from both ASBO and GFOA. So the district will certainly be commended for receiving those prestigious awards. As you well know, Lexington 1 is a growing district, both in terms of student population increase, averaging about 500 students over the last several years, as well as the property value growth here in Lexington County, almost 4% in fiscal year 2020. The general fund balance itself increased a little over $8 million in fiscal year 2020. The revenues increased about $9 million compared to the prior year. Most of that was due to state aid for teacher salary increases. The expenditures themselves increased about $16 million, largely due to an increase in the overall number of employees and the related salary, insurance, and retirement. The general fund balance was just under $66 million as of June 30th. The unassigned portion of that was just under $61 million. That represents about 22% of your total fiscal year 2020 general fund expenditures. The district policy requires 7%, so the district has exceeded that minimum requirement. Overall, your governmental fund balances were about $193 million. I know that's a little hard to see there, but overall, the largest increase in your government-wide financial statements is in your capital assets due to investment in new schools as a result of the bond issuance in fiscal year 2020. And this is the government-wide change in net position. The overall decrease there is reflective of a change in an actuarially determined amount for the net pension and net OPEB liability. So that's a reason for the difference. Okay? So at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I've got just a couple. Where are you seeing other districts as a percent of their operating budget? What do they have as a target fund balance with the same credit ratings? So again, we enjoy our strong credit ratings.
That's an excellent question. I would say between 20 and 25% is not uncommon. The State Department only requires about what you have. They're about 8.3% is the minimum for the State Department. So some districts are just above that, but at your credit ratings, I would say between 20 and 25.
And then secondly, what do we need to be thinking about as a board with respect? You mentioned, I think one of your final comments is the adjustment to expenses based upon the state retirement system. So what do we need to be budgeting and thinking about? Because, I mean, in other lives, we live with that same reality, and so we're adjusting our projections based upon that.
Certainly. Yeah, that's a great question. You know, PIBA has announced kind of a timetable for every year increasing those retirement premiums. And so at least knowing that timetable and knowing how much they're going to incrementally increase every year on the employer side is helpful. There is a sunset to that and a period of time where they haven't said what they're going to do beyond that. So that's where you also have to be aware, you know, the legislature could come in and change that. They have provided some funding from the State House, but you know, y'all are doing the right things. You're considering those in your budget process.
Because right now we have to contribute 14%, and it grows to 20% or something. What's?
It's close to 22%.
Okay.
Employer and 9 on the employee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at board, I mean, obviously, Act 38 allows us only to raise millage by a certain amount. And again, I think it's a rolling 3 years, and we sunset, I forget that as well. But you lose, if you don't raise millage, you lose the opportunity to. So again, as the South Carolina retirement system is our element, we have to fund more and more of that. We need to be thinking about that. And so maybe with our next budget process, projecting what that PIBA cost would be and what the millage needs to be to help us make sure those lines cross appropriately. So would be helpful. So.
Does that account for our general drift in the total net position over time? Is it mostly from those liabilities?
Yes, absolutely. When you look at the overall governmental fund change, that was about $10 million to the positive. And those two items just by themselves were about $22 million. So that just by itself accounted for the, I think it was about $11 million dollar decrease.
Okay. And under our liabilities, when we have other liabilities, what is typically an other liability?
Those can include, I believe on that particular chart, those can include just your general outstanding amounts to vendors, current portion. You're required to accrue for salaries and benefits and things like that that existed as of June 30 but hadn't been paid yet.
Gotcha. Thank you.
This is Jada. I have a question. In the, capital project fund, under transfer from debt service, there was 17 million. How is that amount determined as to what's transferred into capital out of debt service?
Is that a budget transfer? I'm not, well, that was from debt service.
This says interfund transfers from debt service district to capital projects funds.
Yes, that was the proceeds from the bond that had been transferred over to help pay for the ongoing capital projects.
Okay, because there is above that, there's proceeds of general obligation bonds as well.
Oh, so that's a different, okay. I don't have that open. Hold on a second.
It's on page 127.
Okay. Let's See, this was,
We can get that later if you don't know. I mean, we don't have to do that right now.
That was the
That's what
tr-
it appears to be, Deborah, is that bond premium. Yeah.
Okay. Another question, in the front of the CAFR, we have blended component units, the Lexington One School Facilities Corporation and the Educational Foundation. It says that the Board of Trustees of Lexington County School District 1 approves all appointments of the members of the foundation board, but we don't do that. Is that something we should be doing?
where's that?
I'm not sure the page, because I just screenshot and printed it off when I was going through it. It's under blended component units. I just figured there was some kind of accounting rule that said, since those are legally separate entities, but they're part of the district's operations, that was something that needed to be done.
Okay, we can revisit that verbiage and make sure that that's correct.
Okay.
I believe the foundation board votes on its own members.
Okay,
I think that's in the foundation's bylaws. Board, are there any other questions? Or
Any projections on what you think the state legislature is going to do in the spring? Come on,
I
earn your
wish.
keep.
I wish I knew.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Little, if I could just briefly, I would like to, we have some of the finance staff here, and I would like to just give them a big shout out. You noticed in the report there that the CAFR has been recognized for 25 and 26 years running, and those two national recognitions, and that's due very large part to our staff and the care and trust and guidance that they put in, and also our school principals and school staff. We just have a tremendous effort that goes into making sure that our funds are spent appropriately. And these folks work really hard and working with Matthew's team to get this document correct and to the public. So I just want to give them a shout out and thank them for all the work they've done.
Thank you, Mr. Salters, and I also, let me just say, I appreciate the work you've put into this and the leadership of your team. I'm very thankful for that and for all the work that y'all have done. Thank you so much, and continue to be excellent in everything you do. We greatly appreciate it.